Welcome to the Graduate Testing 101 with emphasis on the GMAT. My name is Katrina Gilmore, and I am the Director at the Center for Career Education and Community Engagement Office. And I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Zhou, the Graduate Director of the MBA program here at CSUB. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Zhou.
Thank you. I'm going to briefly introduce the GMAT, the admission exam for the business graduate program. And toward the end, I will also briefly introduce about, for the MBA program at the CSUB, what are the, the admissions, the requirement. Okay, let's talk about GMAT first. What is the GMAT? The official name of the GMAT is a Graduate Management Admission Test. So this is the #1 exam for the business school, especially for the graduate business and management programs. And most of the programs require the GMAT exam, including MBA program. And actually our program, MBA program at CSUB, will also require GMAT exam. You can find this detailed information about this exam, GMAT exam, through this website. And of course, if you want to register for the exam, you can also register through this website. I will briefly discuss the content of the GMAT. For the GMAT, there are 4 separate sections. The first one is a quantitative reasoning. The second one is a verbal reasoning. And the third one is analytic writing assessment. And the fourth one is integrated reasoning. For the first section, quantitative reasoning, this section primarily measures your ability to analyze data and draw conclusions using reasoning skills. This section has 37 questions. The format of this section is multiple choice. Primarily, these questions and focus on the algebra, geometry, and data sufficiency. The next section, the verbal reasoning. This section measures your ability to read, understand written material, to evaluate arguments, and to correct written material, and to conform to standard written English. This section has 41 questions. The format of this section also multiple choice. The primary focus on the grammar and the sentence structure. Then the other 2 sections, the third one, analytic writing assessment. So this section primarily measures your ability to think critically and to communicate your ideas. The format of this section is an essay. It's a 1 essay within 30 minutes. However, if you want to apply for the MBA program at CSUB, and then if you graduate from UC or CSU, any campuses, and so this section is not required, okay? Then the last one, integrated reasoning. This section has 12 questions that primarily measures your ability to analyze data and evaluate information presented in multiple formats. And also, if you want to apply for the MBA program at the CSUB, regardless, the university you graduate from, and this section is not required. So actually, when we consider the admission into our MBA program, and primarily we consider the first section, quantitative reasoning, and also the verbal reasoning. Then, if you take the GMAT exam, and how to score. If you take GMAT, the most important score you receive will be your composite score, which range from 200 to 800. 200 is the minimum score, and 800 is the maximum. Then this score, composite score, will only rely on the first section and the second section, which is quantitative reasoning and verbal reasoning, these 2 sections. So actually your composite score based on the first 2 sections, which we consider, the admission to our MBA program. Now, GMAT is a computer-based, and it is adaptive test. What does this mean, adaptive test? So it is used to get accurate score by selecting specific question with varying difficulty levels from a larger pool. It means, okay, when you begin the quantitative and verbal reasoning sections, the first question you see in each section will be relatively easy. Then when you answer the first question correctly, then the next question will be slightly harder. And if you answered this next question incorrectly, then the next question will be slightly easier. Of course, if you answer the next question correctly, then your third question, following question will be slightly harder. This process, this adaptive test process will continue throughout the entire section for both quantitative reasoning and verbal reasoning. Because we use this format, once you answer a question and you cannot go back to it, that means you will not be able to skip, return to, or change your answer to questions, okay? Because the computer uses your response to each question to select the next question. Then other than the verbal and quantitative reasoning, the first two sections, the third section, which is analytical writing, the score range is from 0 to 6. So if you are not graduated from CSU, any campuses or UC, and this section is required if you apply to our MBA program. And if you have a score 4.5 or above, and so you actually meet the GMAT requirement for the graduate program. Okay, so actually this analytical writing section and this somehow can also be useful. I just primarily discuss, introduce the GMAT. And because actually at Bakersfield, it is not, very convenient to take GMAT. And somehow we also consider GRE as a substitute for the GMAT. So that's why this slide, I list the comparison between GMAT and GRE. So you will see, and for GMAT, it takes 3 hours and 30 minutes, and GRE, it takes 3 hours and 45 minutes. Number of essay you need to complete in GMAT is 1 essay. And for the GRE, there are 2 essays you need to complete. And there's a number of the multiple choice questions. For GMAT, there are total 90 multiple choice questions. However, for the GRE, there are total 100, of course, and there's 80 are the scored questions and 20 unscored questions. The number of the sections, like I just introduced for GMAT, there are 4 sections. However, for GRE, there are total 6 sections, including unscored research question section. Then for the scoring, composite scoring for GMAT, like I mentioned, it's from 200 to 800, and there's a 10-point increments. For the GRE, it's each section, verbal and quantitative reasoning, these 2 sections, and it's a range from 130 to 170 and 1 point increments, and total score can be 260 to 340. Then the cost of GMAT is from $200 to $75, and GRE cost is $205. And the valid, so how long the score valid? Both 5 years, okay. This is a brief introduction of the GMAT and also the comparison of the GMAT and the GRE, okay. So if you want to find out the detailed information about GMAT, again, this is the website. You can take a look. It has the detailed information, and it also has some practice questions you can definitely try to use as a reference. MBA program at CSUB, what are the admission requirements? You need to hold a bachelor degree from accredited 4-year university. And there's the undergraduate GPA, and it's a 2.75 minimum, 2.75 GPA. And this GPA can be cumulative GPA or last 60 units. And you need to complete GMAT. And then we can also consider to use GRE as a substitute. So if you take GMAT, and the score range from 200 to 800, and the minimum GMAT score for the MBA admission at CSUB is 500. Of course, for the GRE, for verbal section is 148, and the quantitative is 149. This is the basic and as admission requirement. Of course, you also need to submit the resume and the personal statement, undergraduate transcripts, and there's also the 2 recommendation letters, and also need to complete the online application. Then in addition, nowadays, not only our MBA program at CSUB, there are other MBA programs around the country, and we try to reduce reduce the impact of the standard test, which is GMAT, right? So like other programs around the country, and including the other the CSU systems, and we consider GMAT waiver. So you can consider to apply for GMAT waiver if you meet one of the following requirements. The first one is based on your undergrad GPA criteria. Or if you receive your bachelor degree, then have a certain number of years of the professional working experience. Then also if you run the small business, okay, as a small business owners or operators, then if you hold the national certifications, and the last one is if you have a PhD degree or the other terminal degree from accredited institutions, then so any one of these requirements, if you meet any one of these requirements, you can apply for GMAT waiver. So let's take a look at the first requirement. For undergrad GPA, suppose if you receive a business degree from an AACSB accredited school with a minimum GPA of 3.0, this 3.0 can be cumulative GPA or last 60 units GPA. So AACSB accreditation is the highest accreditation for business worldwide. Roughly only 5% of the business school worldwide receive this accreditation. Of course, the business school at CSUB, we have the AACSB accreditation. Then what if you have your undergraduate degree is not business? So a non-business degree, then you need to have a minimum GPA of 3.2, either cumulative or last 60 units. You receive your bachelor degree, but then you went on to work full time for the professional the working experience. So at least 5 years of full-time professional work experience. Then in addition with internal promotion above entry level and or managerial role over people and or budgets. This work experience requires undergraduate degree, and also this 5-year experience must be attained after completing the bachelor degree. Then we also require the interview with the MBA admission committee. Then also a letter from the supervisor, okay. For the small business owners and operators, so we also require the official document to show the significant involvement in multiple employee business and also the other qualification. Then also an interview is also required. For the national certification, and such certification need to require an exam, work experience, and also ongoing continuing education requirement. For example, the certified public accountant, CPA, or chartered financial analyst, CFA, or this is related to the insurance, chartered property and casualty underwriter, CPCU, right? And also the liability underwriter and human resource management. So these are the examples of the national certification. If you meet all these, one of these 5 the requirements, then the GMAT can be waived, okay? But if the GMAT is waived, and you will be conditionally admitted, and so it's a conditional classified, then for those and conditional classified, you need to a grade of B or above for the first 12 12 hours of MBA coursework, equivalent to the first 4 MBA courses. Then after you meet this, the requirement, then and conditional classified will be converted into classified. This is about GMAT waiver for our MBA program at the CSUB. I think this is my presentation, and as I talk about the GMAT, I talk about the comparison of GMAT and GRE. Then I also talk about the criteria, admission criteria for the MBA program at the CSUB. Thank you, and if you have any questions, and please feel free to contact me. And my name is Zhou, and I'm the MBA program director. And you can find my contact information at the BPA school website, especially if you go to the MBA program website under the BPA, the school website. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zhou. This is a very informative presentation.